Motorhead Garage, the program that each week introduces you to and shows you how to install the latest in exciting and innovative products for your vehicle. Now here's your host, Dave Dobson.
Motorhead Garage is presented by DragonFireTools.com. Now, Motorheads, if you're working with any vehicle in your garage or your small shop, you're going to be working with metal, maybe making a roll cage or working with something smaller like this. Well, if you're working with metal, you want a high-quality tool, you want something that's affordable, and it's a bonus if it's made in the USA. And guess what? Our friends at Swag Off-Road have checked all three boxes. Now, Matt, last time you were here, you brought some really innovative stuff, and you've got some great innovations here today. And it starts with your bender. I think before we talk about the features of the bender, we should talk about the origins. Where did it come from? Why'd you guys decide to make a bender?
So basically we started off by making a hop-up kit for other manufacturers' benders out there. We made a machined ram mount that you can bolt up to an 8-ton air-over hydraulic long ram. Basically you can take a manual bender and convert it into a hydraulic bender cost effectively and easily. Most benders are bolted down in the middle of your floor, kind of taking up space. So with this hydraulic version, you're able to put it on a cart like this, bring it out when you need it, roll it off into the corner when you don't.
And now you guys have made something affordable, like I said, but you also make a super high quality tool. What are some of the features of this thing? So
what we use is we start with an A572 plate steel for the arms, and that gives us, the strength and the high quality that we need. We also use 4140 chromoly pins all the way around. All these pivot points on here have a oil-light high strength bushing.
And then what kind of materials are we talking about? You can do square tubing, you can do round tubing and pipe. What's the range of material sizes you can do?
Yeah, so we offer over 50 different dies to choose from for our Rev 2 bender. Like you had mentioned, anything from tube to pipe to square, as small as 1/2 inch all the way up to 2.5 inch material.
I think through every innovation at Swag Off-Road that you've told me about, you guys really take into consideration the small details, and it starts with the return spring on there. You've made that safer than a lot of other options out there.
Yeah, so we've seen some guys modify a return spring system using garage springs, and if those things fail, they can go flying through the shop, hit somebody, So what we offer is a fully encased elastic return spring that if it were ever to fail, it's self-contained, no injuries.
Very cool. And another thing too, I see with a lot of benders, their indicator for the angle is usually just like a bent piece of wire or something like that, and it gets knocked around all the time and it's never consistent. How'd you fix that?
We found a simple solution by just making a permanently mounted hard bracket for the indicator that's super stiff and rigid. You're never going to knock it out of place. You're going to get easy, consistent bends every time.
And speaking of consistency, maybe you have to make a bend, move your pipe, and then make another bend. How do you make sure that you get consistent bends and the pipe is always oriented the same way?
Great question. We actually sell a plane-of-bend bracket, and this is a billet machined aluminum box that holds an angle indicator inside. Clamps on with a pipe clamp. So you can clamp that onto your material just like that, lock it into place. Whether you have to take your material out, make multiple bends, you're always going to keep it on the same plane, and it's going to be accurate every time.
I know you need a lubricant here if you want to keep your dies working well and keep this thing lasting a long time. A lot of folks use grease or whatever else they can find out there. That can be a detriment because you want to then weld the piece, and that can contaminate your weld. So how'd you solve that problem at Swag Off-Road?
So what we did was we found a high quality water-based lube that can basically be welded right through. You just wipe it down with a rag, weld through it, and you don't get any porosity or anything like that.
Now that does some really big pipe and tubing. What if that's overkill for what I need to do and I just want to work with something smaller?
Yeah, so we have a product for that. It's our foo bar bender. This is a small flat bar bender that you can use to bend like 1-inch flat bar up to 3/8 round rod or square rod, and chuck it up in your vise and you can get accurate, repeatable bends every time.
I really like the repeatability. I think that makes it stand out. Of course, once you bend the tubing, you're going to need to notch it because you have to connect it together. You guys have a notcher that's out of this world. Some really great features in this tiny little thing. How does it work?
Yeah, so we wanted to make a simple notcher that was very versatile to use, and we came up with a unique clamping system that allows you to clamp material really tight on the bends. So a lot of notchers out there have a hard time clamping on a bend. The material wants to slip around. This Lynx notcher that we offer here eliminates that problem, and it's quick and easy to use.
If you're looking to work with metal in your home, in your garage, in your small shop, Swag Off-Road is the place to go. SwagOffroad.com has high quality tools and tools made in the USA. We'll be right back with more Motorhead Garage and more great products for your vehicle when we come back. Don't go anywhere. Motorhead Garage, presented by DragonFireTools.com, is brought to you by AMSOIL, the first in synthetics, Shade Wagon, throw some shade, and by DragonFireTools.com, industrial workbenches with integrated tool storage.
Ooh, this one's not going to last much longer. That's something you never want to hear. Welcome to this AMSOIL Tech Tip. Yeah, we're talking about engine noises, and they're not good. There's all different types of noises when it comes to the engine. Let's start down here with the lower end noise so we can listen to them and kind of understand what's going on. You can see this one here. I don't know if anything can be worse than our Kia, but that one tops the list. Now remember, camshafts turn half crankshaft speed. So that means it's going to be kind of a single tick on the high end. The lower end will be a lower knock. And we can tell with a couple of tricks what's going on. The first one here is valve train, kind of like ours here. You can hear it, it's in the upper end there. So you hear that ticking, kind of single tick as the piston goes up and down. That's a valve train noise. Now on the other hand, there's a rod knock. The rod knock's in the lower end, but we can take the spark away because it's blowing down on top of that piston and we can make it go away. Watch this, is pretty cool. And this is actually a rod knock on a Toyota here. You hear that knock? Well, he pulls the spark plug and you don't really hear anything. Now listen to number 2 here when he goes to number 2. See that? It's going away because we're taking that fire away as we actually go. That's a classic rod knock right there. Main bearing, that's going to be in the lower end. You can hear that there. That's that real deep knock down in the lower end. Last but not least, we actually did on Tech Garage, we had a chain tensioner. And this is huge because we did this a couple of seasons ago. Watch this, this is pretty cool. Well, Dave asked me to pick up this charger, said it needed a service. You think?
We got the valve cover off, John, and look what we found. Here is the chain tensioner, and we have a flopper.
Yeah, it's a flopper, all right. You know what, Dave? It sounds exactly like the noise we heard, that ticking.
Yeah, there it is.
Len, oil and oil tensioners. Once again, here we go. We could have some catastrophic damage, can't we?
Oh, we could, because the tensioners rely on oil pressure. If we lose oil pressure and the tensioner backs off, it could skip or it could miss a beat there, and that's going to be major damage.
Yeah, you bend every valve in the vehicle. So oil pressure is going to push on the chain. It's going to push on your belts. Here's a tech tip for you. You're going down and you hear some noise in the front end of your engine. You don't know if it's the timing components or accessory belt drive out there, water pump. You can take that off and run it for a few seconds. If the noise is still there, well, it's deep in your engine. If it goes away, it's an accessory. Speaking of accessories, these cars are full with technology. VVT, these tiny little screens right here, man. Oil once again.
Oh yeah, this is a huge deal. Right here now, you start looking at deposit control. If you get a bunch of dispersants or detergent that aren't working properly and you get a bunch of sludge in there, that can't work. And that's going to create major damage down the road.
And people don't even realize, Len, they're driving along, everything seems pretty good, but this is that optimal technology. So you want to make sure you get a good oil. Prevent engine noises and engine problems before they happen with proper maintenance. Go to amsoil.com. They have you covered for all your maintenance needs.
I'm Dave Lovelace. I own a 1971 Z28 Camaro.
I'm Steve Miller, and this is my 71 Z28 Camaro.
My Camaro was made in the last week of January 1971.
And mine was made a week later in 1971.
I graduated from Catoosa High School in 1971.
I graduated from Tulsa Hale in 1971.
I was born February 13th, 1953.
And I was born February 19th, 1953. There's just too many stars lined up. We're a week apart on everything.
I bought his car in 1991.
I bugged him for 10 years to buy the car back. When I found out he had it, knew I was going to get it back someday. He sold it to me and he said, will you sell it back to me? And I said, no. But I know where there's another one. It just all lined up. Because it's not every day you see two matching cars identical, and they've been well taken care of. Original numbers. We've got a lot of nice things between the two cars, but we wanted to keep them as close to original as we can because that's what it's all about. I've always been a purist, and I prefer to keep it that way.
Motorhead Garage, presented by DragonFireTools.com, coming to you from the Shade Wagon studio.
The Shade Wagon presents Motorhead Garage Trivia. Test your automotive knowledge with this week's question, and we'll give you a chance to think about it because the answer's coming up just a little later in our show. You know, whether you're a pro or an amateur, working on your car can be difficult because it's so hard to see sometimes. Of course, if you're like me, you got a 6-year-old holding a flashlight, not that consistent. I love you, Lincoln, but not that great of work on the flashlight. And it's always a never-ending struggle to get the light where you need it, Kevin. But you fix that with Goose Grip. How'd you do it?
Absolutely. The very first light that we made is called the Goose Grip Mechanics Work Light. It uses a vacuum suction plate on a long, bendable gooseneck with a LED light stick at the end and a very, very special swivel. And it looks a little crazy, I know, but what we do is we take this, if we're working under the hood, we're going to take this, which is a vacuum suction plate, otherwise known as a suction cup, and we're going to take this and we're going to put it through where the hood and the wiper shelf meet, and we're simply going to guide that through, position the suction cup down at the lower end of the windshield, and we're going to clip the handles. And now you can take this and you can bend it however you want. I'm going to take the Milwaukee battery and we're going to insert that. Now we're going to turn the light on. And you get to position it however you want. If you're doing an alternator or power steering or anything down below the height of the engine, just position it where you want. And now you can work with both your hands. You don't have to worry about a light falling. It'll stay wherever you put it, and wherever you turn it to, it stays in that position. Ballerina, 360-degree rotation, and also airplane propeller. It'll stay wherever you put it. Put it any place, at any angle, and you're free to use it.
This is something that needed to exist, and here it is.
I made it for me. I'm a mechanic 40 years, and this was the first light that I made. Everything is custom made. It doesn't break. It's really the definition of rugged. Everything is steel, stainless steel, and 6061 aluminum. The light stick is 100% waterproof to 28 feet. Not that you'd put it under the water.
Where's it made?
We make them right here in Myrtle Beach, South Carolina, one at a time. All custom made, nothing's off the shelf. So we have another light. This is called the Goose Grip Super Articulating Chassis Light. And it uses the same design of a M12 battery in a housing and a gooseneck. It's a little shorter because you don't need all of that length under a car. And you can simply take the battery and insert it in this light. And now if you're under the car, you can clip this to an exhaust pipe or a bracket or a control arm or the frame rail, anything irregular. And under the car, it wouldn't matter because it'll leave a mark, its teeth. But under a car on an exhaust pipe would be acceptable. You couldn't use this under the hood because you're going to leave teeth marks.
We're used to the traditional hood light that hangs across the top of the hood, and you've addressed that as well for folks that like to work with that sort of light. You can also use this as sort of a backup. Maybe you want to use this in concert with one of those lights as well.
Hood lights have been around for a really long time, and they're usually about 4 or 5 pounds, and they have the big springs that hold on the edge of the hood. Like I said, 4 pounds, a lot of them. This is the Goose Grip 39-inch stick light. And this weighs 7.5 ounces.
And you've put a couple of magnetic loops up there already. And,
absolutely.
that's all you need to do.
And so, okay, you just slide it through, and now you have this light right here, and I'm going to use the portable version of the battery pack. I call it the Buffalo, and this will stick, of course, to any metal. We could actually put it on the hood and plug it in, and now you have 3,600 lumens of overhead lighting, just like a hood light.
Goose Grip's got you covered whether you're working under the hood or under the vehicle. Find all of it at goosegrip.com. And now the answer to our trivia question. It's presented by the Shade Wagon each and every week. How'd you do? Well, if you didn't get it, maybe you learned something. Keep it locked here on Motorhead Garage, presented by DragonFireTools.com. We'll be right back.
Motorhead Garage, presented by DragonFireTools.com. Industrial workbenches with integrated tool storage. And brought to you by PaintedAutoBodyParts.com, the leading U.S. auto body parts online store. Old Air Products, cooling the classics. And by Eagle Lights, see and be seen.
Tribotex is a great product that works. If you just inject it into the engine, you don't have to go through anything extra. But Pasha, if you want to take it to the next level and make Tribotex work at its best, there are a few best practices. Now, number one, you guys have told me, clean the engine. Make sure it's a clean surface to begin with. How does that work?
Yes, you want to make sure that these surfaces are clean. You can use engine flush before oil change, or you can use our new superior artisan bio-based cleaner called PR1.
And BR1's great because it's environmentally friendly.
It is environmentally friendly, it is non-toxic, and third, it is a super concentrate, so a small amount goes really long way.
And the second thing, no other additives. You don't want to put other stuff in your engine while you're using Tribotex.
Yes, all additive companies, we all fight against common enemy, friction and status quo of large oil companies that produce mediocre product. But it is very difficult to know how different additives will interact. So we recommend you to stay within same technology.
Another one your lead engineer Brian told me about is actually mix Tribotex with the oil before you put the oil into the vehicle, right?
Depends on the application. You can inject it where it's easy to inject, or you can mix it with the oil and pour the oil through the regular route.
You won't notice immediate results necessarily with Tribotex. Sometimes it takes a little while, so you need some patience.
You're right, patience is the virtue in this case, because we are not immediate solid lubricant. We are film former. We build the film over time. It takes about 10 motor hours to build a film that gives you dramatically low friction and all the benefits that goes together with using the product. So when you wait a little, it pays off royally.
But in today's society, I want immediate results. So if I don't see it working immediately, I'm just going to add more and more and more. But that's a big no-no. You don't want to overdo it when it comes to Tribotex.
You will hear difference in noise in the very first 15 minutes when the valve train starts to quiet down. But the biggest difference is from the coating piston cylinder group. The very slow splash lubrication and rings remove most of the lubricant. That's where the most difference for the long-term effect and the fuel consumption happens, and the power. That's what you want to wait for.
You don't want to overdo it with Tribotex.
Yes. Lower amount over longer time works better than more at once.
I have a lot of viewers that email me and send me notes and ask me about Tribotex. They want to know two things, Pasha. The first one is it safe for my vehicle? Is it safe?
It's absolutely safe, and there's no condition in which it can't make an improvement.
And what about a new vehicle? It doesn't seem to need much improvement.
In new cars, you will not see much of a difference in terms of efficiency, but you will see a lot of difference in terms of longevity. And right after first oil change, it's perfect time to apply.
What about older vehicles and you're starting to have problems and maybe you hear some rattles and that sort of thing? Tribotex is perfect for those folks too.
That's right. The more friction, the more difference it will make. So the older cars perform better, more cylinders perform better, and smaller engine, it performs better. This is all the places where a lot of friction robs you of fuel efficiency.
And it takes that friction away, but there's a lot of metal on metal wear, so you get some grooves and scratches and that sort of thing in the metal parts of the car. How can Tribotex fix those?
The grooves turn into smooth, glassy-like surface that is porous ceramic, and those pores filled with lubricant, so that lubricant works even when shock loads or sudden potholes happen.
Gotcha. Now let's talk about the other question I get a lot is how easy is it to apply or install or use Tribotex?
If you know how to pop up the hood of the car and find where you put oil, that's all you need. You stop the engine, you open the hood, you inject material, you close it, you let it run for 15 minutes to assure dispersion, and it's good to go for 500 miles, and then you will see a difference.
How often do we need to put Tribotex in our car?
It's enough for 40,000 miles, so once per few years if you drive not fast.
Well, Tribotex is going to make your vehicle last longer. It's also going to take your old vehicle, actually repair the damage, and give you better performance. You can check it out at tribotex.com. You can also find all the science there behind it. Mike Brooks is a motorhead if there ever was one, and he's our paintedautoparts.com Motorhead of the Week. And now, like a lot of us, Mike got his start building plastic models. Years later, he evolved into working on the real thing. He parlayed his passion into a profession, and he opened Brooks Collision about 30 years ago. That business is still going strong. And when Mike isn't working on cars at work, he's working on cars at home. 7 hot rods currently in the stable, and they are all beautiful. We are jealous of you, Mike Brooks. You are our paintedautoparts.com Motorhead of the Week. Keep those nominations coming at motorheadgarage.tv. Maybe we'll get you right here on the show. We'll return next week with more Motorhead Garage presented by DragonFireTools.com. So we will see you then. Until then, drive safely.